Hey everyone, you're listening to the Simple Electronics podcast, and I'm your host, Dan from the Simple Electronics YouTube channel. And today I've switched my regular black coffee out for some fancy flavored stuff because I have a special guest on, another maker. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic and completely honored to get the special coffee. Hope you're energized and ready to go. I know I am.
I am now. Second nap of the day is done. So actually, the lack of sleep I had last night is not actually affecting me right now. So I'm glad about that.
I really like one of the things I want to become as a nap person. I am so terrible about the naps. If I lay down, I'm out for like 4 hours and then I can't sleep and I'm totally off. So I need to be a power napper, I think.
Like the Deadliest Catch guys, the fishermen, they apparently nap just motoring between the strings. Like that's a 15-minute nap, and apparently it lets them go 48 hours without a constant sleep.
I need to become that person. I really struggle with sleep. I think but I get up at between 3 and 4 in the morning most mornings and up till 10 o'clock at night. So it's rough. I could use some power naps here and there.
Yeah, I'll just take being able to sleep at nights. That would be that would be
It'd be
great for me.
fantastic.
Well, our listeners are in for a lovely treat because this is, I guess, our annual Christmas special. I don't know if it's going to be an annual thing, but so far this is the second year in a row. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm absolutely honored that you'd asked me to be back on here. I have fun listening to your podcast. I have fun being on your podcast, and I appreciate anybody who doesn't just say, "Oh, that guy again." So yeah, I'm honored. Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays, and hope we have a good episode for you.
Yeah, I hope so too. And yeah, Merry Christmas to those practicing the Christmas things, and Happy Holidays to those who practice whatever or nothing at all. If you want to be a Grinch, that's totally fine because most of the year I'm pretty Grinchy as well. So, whatever floats your boat. But we're gonna start this a little bit different. This is not really an interview. I don't really feel the need to interview another maker, although he is interesting enough for that. We're actually going to do a little bit of a retrospective on our channels or on our maker stuff for the last year. And then we're going to make predictions of what we think is going to happen in the future. A little bit for us, a little bit for the other, and a little bit for the community at large. So if you're interested in that, make sure you stick around to the end because, I think it's going to be a great episode.
Very nice. Yeah.
So let's get it started. Do you know how many videos you've produced last year?
I actually do. I think so. I think it's 69.
69. Oh, that's possible. I went quickly and looked at our YouTube channels, and I just scrolled down to the bottom until I got to videos that were published, quote unquote, 1 year ago, because it's not very specific. And I got 75 videos
Okay.
for
Wow.
you and 110 for me. I did
Wow.
not think that we produced that much content. I mean,
No.
well, I guess I'm always waiting for the next Another Maker video, so maybe it's my fault for consuming your content too quickly. But can you believe it? Between the two of us, nearly 200 videos in
That is
2021.
insane. That's insane. And for a little inside baseball, I know a lot of times you batch your videos and I'm privileged to get to see things early and occasionally spoil things early. But I'll go through there and I'll blast every bit of content you have, and then I'll see a video released on YouTube and get all disappointed because I've already seen it. So yeah, it's a lot of content. I enjoy every bit of it.
It's the gift and the curse, I think.
That's right. And then on top of so included in that, is that also your podcast episodes?
Yeah, that is a bit cheating because it's everything, and the podcast goes out every 2 weeks, no matter
Okay.
what. So
about 26 of those.
Actually, yeah, So it's actually the gap between us is not as big as it feels because I feel like there's been a little bit of a lack of the Another Maker content lately.
There has been. I've been trying to. So just more inside baseball. Basically, in September-ish, I went and renovated a house up in Maryland, and so everything that I had done was pre-recorded. So I was pretty much trying to release things about once a week. And then I came home and I blitzed a whole bunch of other content. That I was in Ireland and Scotland and Northern Ireland, so all that stuff was pre-recorded. I actually have about 16 videos filmed that are not edited. Things all the way back from before I went to Maryland. They're just sitting in my to edit thing. So it's pretty bad. But yeah, I've made
Sorry, was
a bit
that
more.
16?
16. I mean, I have stuff on replacing drop ceiling with this really awesome wooden thing. I've got some maker videos, some product testing, just all kinds of stuff. I've got 2 mailbag videos that I filmed this week that are just sitting in my queue, plus maybe 1 or 2 more that haven't been edited. So I tend to record a lot more than I tend to edit.
That's yeah, that's a lot of content. I mean, I personally, I just edit my stuff and get it out the door, because I mean, I can't have that stuff looming over my head for that long. So I'm happy that you have the that you have the ability to, you know, get a little bit ahead going, because I find often my issue is just sitting at the computer and editing, because then I can't be distracted by YouTube or whatever, and then, you know, I'm start having my own thoughts, which is not good.
Well, the big thing is actually the way YouTube does my videos if I release them out of order. So, you know, just again, more inside baseball. If Banggood gives me a product, a lot of times they want a review relatively quickly. So I used to upload 10 or 15 in advance, but now that would mean that a video for Banggood would be 2 months later before it would actually get released. Or I know one of the things that's held me back is that I know that the kit of the year, the 2021 Cotties, or I guess it'd be the 2022 Kit of the Year awards, needs to go out next. That needs to be my next video. So it has to get uploaded in order, or it just seems to jack up my channel.
Yeah, I suppose that does make sense. Um, just thinking back at this past year, do you have any projects you are particularly proud of? Maybe things that were unexpected to you that you didn't think would come out that well, and talk to us about some of that, and then I'll go after you.
Yeah. I think as far as the projects, and I actually mentioned it on the last podcast, but the open source desk, the video did okay. I mean, 3,000 views or whatever. But the project itself, I really like it. If you haven't seen it, I took a whole bunch of scrap plywood and scrap 2x4s and built a desk that's made out of panels, so I could store my projects. And just quick recap, we all have these Arduino projects that we make, and they wind up in a drawer somewhere. So I wanted a way to display it that was kind of beautiful. And so I built that desk, really by far the thing I was most happy with as far as projects. And then in the middle of the year, and I was thinking about this as we were kind of talking about this retrospective thing, in the middle of the year, I did a series of videos that all got over 10,000 views, and they were just goofing around. And I wanted to see how many relays I could hook up to an Arduino, or what would happen if I didn't put a resistor. And it was kind of a series of things of, you know, basically what would happen if you broke all the rules that people tell you. And those videos were both well received, and I had fun making them. And I think, like, as I look back at the year, that's kind of what's been missing from my channel. A lot of people that know me in real life know that I'm a complete goof. And so people tell me all the time that doesn't come across on my YouTube. Like, every once in a while I'll make a video that's kind of funny, but like, I feel like I'm funnier in daily life than I am on the podcast or on YouTube. And I feel like I need to let kind of my personality come through a little bit more, and take a little bit more time for that kind of stuff. So I had a lot of fun with that kind of, you know, with those kind of just goofing off videos.
My wife says that on my YouTube channels, or on my YouTube videos, I should say, I'm not sure about the podcast. I don't think she listens to the podcast. It's just not her. It's just not her jam. But she says that I put on the professor voice. She says I have different mannerisms. I have different ways of speaking. She says not the real me. So I think I understand exactly
That's kind of
what
funny.
you're talking about.
I was what, your second or third podcast guest, and when you first started the podcast, like, I kind of got little chills at first, because I was like, oh crap, this guy's actually good at what he's doing. Like, I was sort of expecting us to just kind of have a chat, and then you throw on the podcasting voice, and I was like, oh, I don't belong here. So you do very, very well with that kind of stuff, and yeah, you're very good. And speaking of that, I do want to change the subject just a little bit. We can talk about my videos too, but it's been a heck of a year for your podcast, man. You've had some heavy hitters on there: Big Clive, Dave Jones, Unexpected Maker. I think Brian Lowe might have been this year. You had all kinds of just awesome YouTubers and people that I think we would both, maybe not quite, but come close to elevating to hero status. What was that like for you this year to have these titans on your channel?
Incredible. I guess incredible is the only word I can really use to describe it, but it can't be really described. I mean, to like, I'm sitting here on my end, and I can tell you that Big Clive is like the nicest teddy bear of a person. And I can say this with certainty because I had a pre-show and a post-show chat with him. He is like probably the nicest human being you would ever meet. I can tell you with 100% certainty that Dave Jones, what you see on the video is what you get. Dave is just Dave. If you had any doubts about if he hams up his accent for the camera, or those sayings are part of a script, or he tears down things ahead of time, let me just reassure you, he is 100% genuine. And I get to find this out because we had a post and a pre and a post chat, from the podcast. Like, it is incredible the doors that have been opened by it. And I mean, we talk about Clive and Dave, but like the access that I gotten, like Robert Dunn, really, my channel doesn't intersect with his, not really, especially like his car stuff. Like, car stuff is my real life stuff, but not like, yeah, our channels don't really intersect, and he wanted to be on. I had Microtype on, which is a professional, design engineer. I mean, Eric from the Make Me Lab, another Ontarian, like John Park. Like, it's ridiculous the doors that has been opened, and it feels strange because I've always felt like I was sort of part of the electronics community on the less popular end, but just dipping my toe into the larger community, led by these titans, I can't believe I've felt welcome. Like, I don't know why I expected not to be welcome, but yeah, it's incredible. I don't really know how to express it, but I know I definitely have the listeners of the podcast to thank for that. So thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, we were talking about the podcast even before it was a podcast, and talking about the people that you sort of dreamed about having on, and those people, I mean, they were on the list, and to actually have them, and to have them this early in the podcast, like, just for one thing, congratulations, like, to build something and to stick with it and to do it to a quality and to be persistent, to be bold enough to ask. I mean, all of that stuff should be commended, because a lot of people don't achieve things because they don't try, and you tried and you asked, and you made it happen. You need to be congratulated for that, because it is extremely impressive.
I appreciate you saying that, and also I still find it odd that the people I look up to, like, and there's a lot of them, that they actually listen to the podcast, which is like, that's incredible. I don't think I've interviewed anybody who hasn't at all listened to the podcast. A few of them haven't listened all the way through, but like, if you watch Hot Ones, for example, the show where they eat spicy wings while answering spicier questions, at the end, the guy shakes what's it? I forget his name now, but he shakes the bottle of hot sauce, and you can tell who isn't familiar at all with the format, because like, what are you doing with that? Like, why are you shaking this? And that's because they apply a little bit of hot sauce on the last wing. So you could tell who's there for promotion and who's there for, because they wanted to be on Hot Ones. And I feel like all my guests, they wanted to be on the Simple Electronics podcast. And I don't know how to explain, how to put in words how that feels, aside from like, awesome. I don't really know.
And I think, one thing that also sticks out to me is, for as much as you've been, obviously cordial to have all those people on there. You've also had, I'm friends with one of your guests, Fafa from South Africa, and some of the people either don't have YouTube channels or have super small YouTube channels. I not only appreciate that you have them on there, but you treat them with the same respect and you give the episode the same amount of attention. And the episodes are just as good with these lesser known people. And I think that's what makes your podcast an actual platform. You know, you're a platform for Big Clive, and you're a platform for a guy from South Africa that doesn't even really have a YouTube channel. And I think that's awesome. That means a lot that you give a voice to those people.
I'm trying to remember the exact words, but at some point I had tweeted that I was looking for guests for the podcast, and Billy Rubin said something to the effect of thanks for thanks for letting me on the podcast. I think it was something like that. It was something like thanks for allowing me to be on the podcast. I don't remember what it is, but I felt it really important to answer. Like, you didn't like. Oh no, she said she was lucky to have been invited onto the podcast, and I said you weren't lucky, you were deserving. And I think that's really important, that the numbers that you have, your subscriber count and stuff like that, doesn't matter, because as you could see, even the people with like basically no subscribers, I mean, not a single person was uninteresting. Not a single person didn't have a unique perspective or a valid answer to questions. So if you're out there and you think, like, I'd really like to be on this podcast, but I don't think I'm deserving, I'm just here to tell you you're wrong. You're simply wrong. Hit me up, and right now I have got a backlog of guests, but I will for sure put you on the list. Don't worry about it.
Nice. So I do have one thing, and I want to be this guy to tell you to drop something in the comments, but I would love to see who people's favorite guest was this year. Not popularity contest, but actual best episode. And I'm going to go ahead and give mine. Of all the podcasts I listened to, and I think I told you this, but I want to get this out there. Of all the episodes I listened to, and I listened to every single one, my favorite episode of the year, do you remember what it was? I told you.
I don't.
It was the solo episode that you didn't have a guest on at all. And I really encourage you to do that from time to time. I know you've got a backlog. I know there's people that are beating down the door to be on the Simple Electronics podcast, and I feel bad. I think this is my fourth. I feel bad clogging up the list. But, the solo episode, the one thing I don't want you to ever miss is that as much as we love the guests, we turn in week after week. We tune in week after week for you. And so I just enjoyed the realness. I enjoyed the vulnerability of talking about where you were at in your life, and the fact that the podcast was allowed to be about you. And that was kind of one of the reasons why last time I was on the podcast, I interviewed you, because we want to know you. We want to know what's going on in your life. We want to know about the guy whose hands we see in all those videos.
The man behind the hands.
That's right. That's right. My wife is so curious as to what you look like. She really is. Like, she hasn't gone full on stalker, but she's very much wants to know who you are.
Well, I can tell you, to add a piece to your puzzle, I have a hell of a beard.
Okay.
So
okay.
At the moment, I have been out of work since June. I don't remember if it's June or July but anyways, I've been out of work for a little bit, aside from on Saturdays working at the shop. So I have not shaved since before that. So
that's fantastic.
I've got a good beard going. It's going to be time for it to go soon. But
okay. Yeah. So do you have to shave it? Do you trim it up for school, or what do you, when you go back?
I do. I keep it. Yeah, I keep it clean for school. Okay. At the shop, honestly, the feeling I get is management gives zero shits about me. So it's not reciprocal, right? So I'm like, whatever. I don't care either. You don't care. I don't care. And so, it's kind of a contest to see how much I can get away with these days, because like the place is a shell of what it used to be with the old ownership. But aside from that, in school, I try to keep it neater. But I have been rocking a beard probably for the last 6-7 years now. It's been a while.
Okay. I can't do it, man. My hair grows, and I have the face that should be covered with a beard. But I can't ever get past the point where it's just scratchy and drives me crazy. I don't know what it is. Like I'm allergic to my own beard.
I feel like my chin is really high up if I don't have a beard because I'm
Hmm.
so used to, I guess, finishing lower.
Hmm.
So yeah, I feel like my face is more like squished in the vertical axis.
That's fantastic. Yeah, lots to think about there as
Yeah.
we're trying to piece this together. So, what would it take for you to do? Because I've tried to drum people up and raise money in your comments of your live streams and stuff like that. What would it take for you to do a face reveal? Not in a
I
creepy
think
way.
it's
I'm just
eventually
curious.
going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's eventually going to happen. Just because I think I'm sticking with the YouTube thing for the foreseeable future. And so I'm guessing if COVID, the Zeta variant or whatever we're going to be up to next year or the year after, if that ever goes away, I probably want to start doing like maker fair type
Hmm.
things. And we talked about some of the projects that I was interested in doing on last year's podcast. And those things will require probably showing up on camera because, like, how are you supposed to drive a raft around the Ottawa River without being spotted in public? A and B, how do you present such a topic from behind the camera, especially since my wife couldn't present it for me because she'll get motion sick on the water. So if things go to plan and the channel grows, well enough that I have a fallback plan in case the college is like, what you said about equality, I'm not for that. I would have something to fall back on, like the YouTube channel. Then I would be a lot less reluctant to show up on camera, I guess,
Yeah.
because the big deal right now is the college is my dream job, and it kind of chaps me that someone who disagrees with my opinion, like especially since I have fairly strong ones, could call my employer, make up lies, and get me fired. Right. So
Yeah.
I think that's the big deal for me, basically.
Yeah. So talking about that, just a couple things. I mean, it's amazing now what YouTubers are doing with their studios. I don't know if you follow the channel at all, explaining computers, but he did an update for his December channel update, just showing his studio, and I mean, it is in a tiny, tiny garage. I mean, what we would call like a sub one car garage, and he's just built this. He has fantastic quality in this tiny room with all the equipment that's out there and the things that people are doing on YouTube. It's incredible. But the other side of that, and we'll probably get into it a little bit later, but the cancel culture and the comments and the things that happen on YouTube, like it just YouTube fame seems like a double-edged sword. That's for sure.
It definitely is. It 100% is. And again, if I was just working at the shop still as a mechanic, I don't think I would care as much because it's not something I'm in love with anymore. I've long lost the love of fixing cars professionally. I mean, it's a horrible thing to do professionally, especially if you're not at the right shop. But the teaching job it's the first time in my life that I feel like I'm doing something I was born to do. And so, yeah, that one I'm kind of afraid for.
So you don't think any of your students have figured out who you are?
Nope, they did not. I've given them hints before, like I've told them approximately how many subscribers I had, but I mean, I'm not that important of a figure in their lives. I only see them for 8 weeks at a time, basically, and then they email me sometimes. So it's like I feel like when they go home, they forget to put on their Google glasses and try to find me. I mean, maybe some of them did, but I would think I would have got sent a link by now.
Yeah, seems fair.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So, aside from your open source computer, do you have anything else you're particularly proud of this year?
Let's see. So I really like the open source stuff. I've started doing a lot more retro stuff this year, and I some of those videos have bombed. The last one where I toured a computer warehouse that was shutting down did better than usual, and actually really surprised me because we talk about engagement, and I'll do videos that'll have a fair number of views and basically get no comments. But I mean, not only that video got like 900 views, which isn't a crazy number of views, but I think there have been about 25 people who showed up to that guy's warehouse to go through it, and they have completely picked it over pretty well. So yeah, so I've been enjoying the retro stuff. Retro computing, I just want to take a little bit of a rant here for people. You know, when you see LGR or Retrospector or, you know, any of those guys, Adrian's Digital Basement, or any of the big retro computing shops or channels, it looks like a lot of fun to do retro stuff, but just getting into it is so difficult. And because of the idea that you don't usually have any known good parts. So if you have this old 486 computer and it doesn't turn on, you know, you don't usually have a second processor and a second old video card and a second vintage power supply that you can switch it out with. So it can become the getting started in that stuff is very frustrating. But I got fortunate enough to hit the mother load of all this stuff, so I have lots of fun stuff around here to play around with. So that's been kind of fun. I haven't done much on my channel with it yet, but I'll probably do a little bit more of that stuff. And yeah, I've done a lot of coding this year, and I've got a lot of coding coming up next year, and I'm thinking about maybe doing a few more coding tutorials and stuff like that. We'll see. But as far as projects, there haven't been any particular really standout ones for me. How about you? What have you been happy with your channel?
I actually got two remote control vehicle, nearly scratch builds. One's a scratch build, the other one was a modification, but I've got two remote control projects done, like done and dusted. That is the design, the printing, the assembly, the testing, the actual running of the device, you know, in a functional way, and the videos done on two of them. I can't even fathom. Like at the start of, or at the end of last year, I didn't think I'd be able to finish the one I was already working on. So the Snow Speeder is one of them. That's the big one, completely self-designed, you know, ground up. The only parts that are not self-designed and printed are a servo for steering, 3 shocks for suspension, the battery, speed controller, radio, equipment, motor, and propeller. Everything else on that 3D printed. The other one is the RC boat, where I turned a sandbox toy into a remote control speedboat. Basically, the thing actually went like snot.
The thing hauled.
I was actually surprised.
Awesome.
Yeah, it did. It lost its top a couple times because I was like, you know what? Oh, I need to find a way to fasten this and waterproof it. And I was like, no, you know what? I really don't. What I need to do is put this thing in the water and go have some fun. So that's what
Fantastic.
I did.
I have to say, those were two of your best quality videos. You could tell you put some production effort into them. Not the other ones that you didn't, but they were funny. They were well done. They were just incredible videos. And the Snow Speeder in particular, I feel like that was criminally underviewed for what it is. I don't know if it crept up over time, but I mean, that thing, that needs a redux, at least a re-release or something. That needs to get picked up somewhere, because it is such a quality project and such an amazing, like, it's not only a project, it's an accomplishment. And I don't feel like you got enough credit for that, because that is an incredible project.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this in the past, maybe in private, maybe over the podcast. I can't remember. It's been a lot of episodes that, you know, you put in a lot of effort into videos, and those videos often are the most underwhelming ones on your channel. And the ones where, you know, you pull out a drill battery and you just mess around and connect some crocodile clips and explain a couple things, and then that's the one that funds your channel for the entire year. So the Snow Speeder, it got 2,200 views, but
Okay.
I'm thinking it might creep up some more, because now we're actually in winter. I premiered this April 2nd, so it was already the end of winter here in the Northern Hemisphere, and the Southern Hemisphere don't really have winter like we do, I think. So there's that. But I am here to announce on this podcast that version 2 of the Snow Speeder is nearly complete already. It is early December when we're recording this, but I have a brand new steering system. I have a brand new front section, front portion of the suspension. I have brand new skis with interchangeable fins. I think this thing is going to rock.
That's awesome. I could see there are so many different things with that. I mean, with it being an open source design, like the Boy Scouts and all those, they have their little pine box derbies or pine wood derbies and things. I could totally see there being, groups of people building those things and racing them, and I could see that being an awesome school project or club project. I mean, it is a full featured awesome project that I really endorse.
It takes a lot of printing time. So that's the one thing, is that because the whole thing is printed and I've made it kind of larger scale. The weird thing about the plastics is that the properties, they don't scale particularly well downwards. So when you have smaller parts, they become like exponentially weaker than larger parts, because I guess that's just the way you can add more walls, right? You think your nozzle is 0.4 millimeters across. That's I don't know what in inches, but that means you can put more walls around the a bigger part than you can a smaller part, because then, I mean, if your dimensions become 0.8, you have a maximum of 2 walls basically.
Right.
So I did make it a little bit bigger, and it has to handle sort of regular RC gear. So it does take a lot of printing effort, but the thing is a lot of fun. And I think if I'm able to get out and film this early enough this year, I'll probably be able to make 2 videos on the Snowspeeder. So the first one will be showing off the V2, the changes and whatever. And the second one is I want to install an FPV system, a first-person view camera system. So I'll be able to drive it from, like, literally you could sit in the warm car if you wanted to, and put on FPV goggles if you got them. I've got this system I'm working on, and that'll be for another day. But yeah, you'll be able to sit in the parking lot and rip around the field in this thing. It should be pretty interesting. At least I hope so.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's just fantastic. I loved it. Just seriously, well done.
Thank you. It's really hard for me to take positive feedback because I'm kind of hard on myself. So I'm trying my best here. If I don't sound gracious enough, that's why.
Okay, so what video of yours do you think sucked the most this year?
Oh God, there's so many. Well, there's videos that I just literally put little effort into. And it's just because I kind of want to have a channel where you can just kind of hang out over the shoulder kind of thing. Like, I don't think Julian Eilert's videos, I don't think he plans on them being interesting. They just end up being interesting because of he's just messing around with stuff. So I'm not sure, like the battery videos, like I'm just presenting that I have batteries and I tested them a little bit. I upgraded my computer. So again, these are things I don't have to bring you guys along for, but I feel like I want to. And I mean, for the computer upgrade, 374 people came along. I don't know how many thumbs up and down it got, but
nobody does.
Let's see. Yeah, 30 thumbs up. I have to go in the studio to tell you how many thumbs down. But they do, just so you know, we do know how many thumbs down, because as soon as you click the content page, it's right.
We see.
There. Yeah. So YouTube saying it's to protect us. I don't believe it.
I don't feel protected. That's definitely a rant I'm saving for later in the podcast. But yeah, I've got some feelings about that.
So I got 30 thumbs up, 3 thumbs down. So most of the 374 people who watched that found it interesting. For the batteries, I got 41 up, 2 down. So again, most of the people enjoyed it, but it just hasn't, I don't know if my thumbnails were crappy or it's just the subject was crappy. Not a lot of people watched it, and that's also fine. I don't need to hit 100,000 views per video. It'd just be nice if the videos that took 2 weeks to make maybe, got up in the 10,000s. Maybe.
I had my first ever ratioed video this year. Which again, I didn't do the best job, but I actually used a trailer from my friend cutting the roof off of that school bus. That was a big project, and I'm actually super proud of that project. It's on a whole different channel, but we cut the roof off a full-size school bus, raised it up 19 inches, and re-welded it back on. And I put like a little 30-second teaser trailer that got like 2-to-1 dislikes to likes, and it was a fair number of them. But that was my first ratioed video ever. So I was kind of proud of that.
Wow. And like 540 views for those listening at home.
Yeah. It was a short.
Can I say what I was happy that you did, but it didn't help you in any way? But no, I don't think anybody commented on it. Was the punking the viewers with thumbnails? Nobody nobody noticed that all of a sudden Jeremy Clarkson was like shooting eyeball lasers to a supermodel on the stage. Like, did anybody mention anything?
No, and that's actually, so, talking about the high effort videos, that was the 4-way multimeter drag race. And people are talking about, how fast these meters auto range and stuff like that. That was a lot of work. I had just paper and notes all over the place. I did all these measurements in slow speed or high speed camera and all that stuff to figure out how fast these things were auto ranging. And 260 people watched it. And which, again, not horrible, and I was kind of going through a channel lull at that time anyway, but that was a lot of work for that video. It was just crazy, like how much people did not care about that one. There's another one too. I feel particularly bad. I'll just, when we get sponsored products, we're under no obligation to love them or anything like that. But I want to see sponsors get a good number of views. And I reviewed a scope that got a whole bunch of views, a little portable scope that got tons of views, and people are buying it and all that kind of stuff. But I did a Circuit Specialist, who's an awesome company, sent me an incredible triple bench power supply, and they sent me a Handtech scope to test the power supply. And I actually did a fair amount of work measuring ripple and learning how to measure ripple and all that kind of stuff. And nobody looked at that video compared to all the ones around it. So I feel a little bit bad for that one.
I was just about to mention, because so what you did is you got the 4-way multimeter drag race, which has the Jeremy Clarkson shooting lasers out of his eyes at, what was it? Is that a drag queen even?
I think it is, yeah, because it's RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah. There we go. And then, so yeah, a lot of, it was a high effort video, and the thumbnail, which inside baseball, but was workshopped by a few creators. Yes. But 2 videos before that, you basically unboxed a relatively inexpensive bench multimeter and did a couple little tests, and again made a hilarious thumbnail of Jeremy Clarkson shooting a laser out of his finger at this thing. And even in the thumbnail it says the cheapest bench meter ... in the world. And that got 1,500 views, 1,300 views more than the high effort video.
And people buy them. People buy them all the time on Banggood. It's fantastic.
And this is why, and it's not, this is not, at least in my part, it's not a criticism of putting a lot of work into videos. And it's not saying that, videos need to get a lot of views. It's that if you're seeing your homepage filled with product reviews, that's why. Yeah. That's all I need to say. That's why, because I can knock out a multimeter review in an hour. I would have that thing uploaded, thumbnailed, titled, descriptioned, tagged, and everything within 2 hours.
And you get affiliate money when they sell.
Exactly. Yeah, but the Snowspeeder, Snowspeeder is like hundreds of hours of CAD work, right? And if I was doing this for the money, I wouldn't be doing projects like that. There's no way. I couldn't afford to.
Yeah. Yeah, it has to be a labor of love to do those kind of projects, and people don't. Yeah, the Wi-Fi controlled water squirter I did. That was a lot of work to get the pumps working, to not flood my office, or my Hyperbowl trackball. That cost, I don't know, probably $60 worth of work, worth of parts, and then laser cutting and assembly and painting and videoing and all that stuff for 300 views. But yeah, it's a weird world on YouTube.
It is, but I mean, it is what it is. I can tell you guys that I'm not going to quit YouTube over low viewership. It is discouraging, but what is encouraging is the comment section. People commenting on my videos, at least, that is super encouraging. So make sure if you follow a creator, and even if you don't subscribe to them, I will say, if you see something you like, you need to tell them. You need to let them know that you love what you just saw. You want more of that, because that is more encouraging than the view number to me. I don't know if
Absolutely.
it's same for you, but for me,
Yeah.
for sure.
No, I showed you guys. I had a video or something like that that had, I think it was 3,000 views and 0 comments, and it's amazing. It's amazing sometimes how that can be, and you just want a little feedback to know if you're going the right direction, because the algorithm doesn't always reward you. So at least knowing that there's people out there enjoying it matters.
I say it often, but on YouTube, you don't necessarily get what you deserve. You get what you get. So don't let, for those creators out there that have the smaller YouTube channels, don't get discouraged, because you're probably not getting what you deserve. You're getting what you get. So don't worry about it. Follow your heart. Do what's interesting. Keep doing that, and I think you'll be okay.
Agreed. And yeah, you
So
have to. I do want to double down on that part. Like, do it because you love it, not because you're trying to get famous, not because you're trying to get rich. And if it stops being fun, take a break, because life's too short for that crap.
oh, exactly,
And
100%.
speaking of taking a break, what do you think about the YouTube world as a whole, and all these, your William Osmans and the people having breakdowns and the people getting frustrated and all that? Especially, I feel like that's gone up over the last year, and I don't know if that's pandemic related or algorithm related or what. What do you think?
Well, my opinion is the lack of transparency on YouTube and the lack of sort of workshopping things with creators is what's creating the environment that allows a couple negative comments to be the straws that breaks the camel's back. I don't think that someone like William Osman is who is broken by negative comments, which do suck. I don't think it's a new phenomenon. I could be wrong, but I don't think it's a new phenomenon. I think the big deal is that YouTube makes changes not only without consulting creators, but without even listening to creator feedback. And I think that leads to YouTubers feeling kind of I don't know what the proper word for this is, but like disasperated or not. They don't feel invested. They don't feel like they're listened to. They just feel like it's them against a machine, and instead of them and the machine working together to make everything work for everyone. I'll give you an example. Linus from Linus Tech Tips had a meeting with someone there, his contact at YouTube, after it was announced that the dislike counter would go away. So first of all, to set the stage, he made this appointment after he found out at the same time as all of us that the dislike counter was going away. So he's not part of the inside team, and they didn't ask anybody. They just dropped it on everyone at the same time, not even to creators, then to viewers, everyone. And someone asked him how that meeting went, and he said, they don't care. They've already made up their mind. So just think about all the places you've worked at in the past. The places where the boss would just show up one day and say, hey, I know you usually work till 5, but starting today, we need you here until 8 p.m. every single day. Are those good places to work, or were those bad places to work? So I think that's what's happening at all times. Creators have to sort of like box the algorithm, like fight against the algorithm. And then YouTube makes these wide sweeping changes that upsets people and moves people off platform onto Odyssey, which I have a Odyssey channel, by the way. Go and follow me there if you want. And who's left hurt is the creators, not YouTube. They don't care. They're cutting massive deals to promote, the latest whatever Disney special. They'll survive, but it's the creators that are like sort of in between where we are. We're the ones who get affected by this all the time.
Yeah, it's funny if you don't realize. I mean, people used to call the TV the tube, and YouTube. YouTube was meant to be our television, and it was meant to be about people putting random videos on there and things like that. And that's essentially what YouTube has done, is taken the U out of YouTube. And somebody like Linus, I just popped him up here, is the 10th biggest Canadian YouTuber, 11th biggest tech YouTuber. By subscribers, the 550 or 535th biggest YouTuber overall, and they just don't care. And the subscriber count thing, not the dislike count thing, for me, as somebody who watches a lot of tech tutorials and stuff like that as a coder, when I go to a tutorial, if I see that it has twice the number of dislikes as likes, I don't waste my time, watching it. And I could scroll down to the comments, but most of the time on a tutorial video, the comments are people asking questions and things like that. So you don't really get a sense if somebody's just asking their personal question or if the tutorial was bad. And there's really no great way to tell if a video is going to be helpful or not if you can't see the full ratio of dislikes. And so I actually installed a Chrome extension today that just brings that back. And I'm sure they're going to break it, and I'm sure it's going to be a problem moving forward, but at least today I can see the downvotes, and that's extremely helpful. And I do wonder how the creator antagonistic approach that YouTube has, and I wonder how that's going to affect things long term. Let's switch it for just a little second, because we in the maker community, we both make tutorial videos and things like that. And if you think about it, we have these complaints about YouTube. I have major complaints about Facebook. I have a Facebook group of 140 some thousand people, and I see Facebook mucking with the algorithm and changing what I can and cannot do on a daily basis, to the fact that, I'd say this: if you 2 years ago, if you would have come to me as a company, I think I could have actually sold my Facebook group for 5 figures. There was that much value to it. I think if I could have changed it to the Arduino Facebook group sponsored by Elegoo, I think I could have gotten, $10,000 or $25,000 for the group if I were to sell it. Today, it's essentially worthless because I can't pin my posts. I have no real control over what people can post and what they can't, and how Facebook is going to interact. And I'm going on this rant to say that you've got YouTube and Facebook and Reddit are probably the three biggest sources for how people learn our craft of electronics. And you have Reddit is gatekept by just a very few people. You've got these giant subreddits that are controlled by a few absent mods. And then you've got Facebook is going off the rails. YouTube, I don't know where that's going. Like, what do you think that's going to do to the maker community as a whole?
It's a difficult question to answer. I mean, it's also an uncomfortable question to answer, because I think anybody who's got a head on their shoulders doesn't see a positive future. The thing with makers, though, is they see a problem and they solve it. This has always been true. I don't care what kind of maker you are a problem solver, whether you admit it or not. So I feel like there is going to be a way for makers to share their information, come hell or high water. But I just don't know what that solution is. Yeah. I do see like there are alternative platforms like Odyssey, which do host videos. And in fact, it's super convenient. If you're a YouTuber that's not already automatically backing up your videos to Odyssey, I'm not sure what you're doing, but you need to get on that. But there are also some big players in the space that really have the money to make a new generation YouTube. So, for example, if Bezos wanted to just delay one of his rocket launches um, he could easily build a platform that would destroy YouTube. Like he could cannibalize all the YouTube users. I don't know if the listeners are kind of aware of this, but a lot of tech companies, what they'll do is they'll run at massive losses in order to gain users, and then slowly strip back the free stuff and add some paid incentives. Like YouTube Red or YouTube Premium, I don't know what it's called now, wasn't an option. Was it like 6-7 years ago? It's just that was part of the plan to monetize, since the user acquisition portion was finished. Now that everybody uses YouTube, YouTube is free to do whatever they want. But a platform like Twitch, for example, they could release like Twitch video, like TVTube or something, and that could be better than YouTube, but only until YouTube realizes they rested on their laurels, and then they can fight back. And this is what we need. We need competition
Absolutely.
in this
Yeah.
space. But it's unfortunate that big things like video platforms have such a huge barrier to entry. Like, I don't know what you're worth, another maker, but I couldn't even sell my house to make a basic video streaming platform. Like it's ridiculous how expensive it would be to have something at that scale. So yeah, I don't know. It's not looking positive. I know that I plan on doing a little something to nudge, to take away the relevance of the algorithm. But that's not even close. I haven't even worked on it this whole year, right? So who knows? I'm afraid I'll have to be pessimistic about the future for makers sharing stuff, at least until something breaks, and then the levee breaks, and then someone's going to save us, hopefully.
Yeah, I want to be clear. Maker's going to make. I believe wholeheartedly that the maker community will figure it out. I'm concerned about the platforms. I'm concerned about newbies' access to information and and all that kind of stuff. But makers are going to figure themselves out. It really is. The people that I feel most sorry for are the people who are getting started, because I've said it over and over again, but all this technology and coding and all this stuff, it's a relatively level playing field with a low barrier to entry, which means it doesn't matter where in the world you are. If you put effort, you can reap reward, and that's why I would basically die for this technology, because I believe it's generation changing, getting this information out there. And so it's why I take it kind of personally when I feel like things are being mucked around with. But yeah, anyway, soapbox over.
Yeah, soapbox over. By the way, if you guys are wondering if it's still worth doing, yes. Still, if you want to share your knowledge, I think it's important for you to share your knowledge. So don't be discouraged by YouTube changing things. If you want to get onto YouTube, there's no better time than now, aside from yesterday, right? So do it. And I will also tell you that a fair few people have asked me what tips I had for new people. Like I get DMs on Twitter and stuff at simple_YouTube, YouTube_simple. It's on your screen. And my number one tip is don't wait. Do it now, because your first video is going to be bad, and your second video is going to be less bad, and your third less bad, and so on and so on. So until you get done making your first, there's no way you can make your 100th. So I would say get going and do it.
Absolutely. And if you have something that's just burning inside you, if you feel like you have a unique perspective on something, or you have a unique project, like share it with the world. And for me, I just love having this stuff all documented. Going back, I can't tell you how many times I've looked at my videos to figure out how I put something together and all that kind of stuff. It's an extremely valuable thing. And we live in an amazing time where we really do have access to basically all the world's knowledge, and encourage you as much as possible to do something with that.
I agree. Definitely do that. So if I can move us forward before we run out of time here, we were tasked to give predictions for each other's channel in the upcoming year, and for the maker community. So I'll actually start on this one because just because I bring it up doesn't mean you have to start, because I always put you on the spot like that. So I'll start with your channel. What I predict is going to happen with your channel in 2022. It's actually hard to say 2022 because I still haven't gotten over the fact that we're in 2021. So I think in 2022, I believe you're going to increase your video output. And I also, so we got 75 videos. So we're recording this. So, we're going to know. I think you're going to increase your video output, but I also think that you're going to make at least one project that'll end up on Hackaday. I feel like you have it in you. I feel like you like dabbling in things that are very Hackaday-ish. And so I feel like your channel will have one article in Hackaday next year.
Okay. So I had 2 on Hackaday last year. I had my desoldering iron, which I actually forgot that was, I think, technically this past year. My desoldering iron, where I hooked it up to an air compressor and blew solder all over the place. That was one. And then the open source desk made it on Hackaday. So I would love that. I love the Hackaday bump and the just talking to people in the comments. Brilliant people. If you don't go to hackaday.com, highly recommend it. Go there daily. There is amazing stuff, and there's some snarkiness, but there's some absolutely brilliant people in the comment section over there. And I'll say this, I'm going to go ahead and do my own channel, and I took a picture of my screen that I'm going to send you later, but I had 2 predictions for my channel. And the first one was that I was going to make 1/3 fewer videos and that it wouldn't hurt my channel. Basically just cutting out some of the cruft, but trying to put a little bit more quality into my video. So I think it's kind of funny that you predicted more, I predicted fewer.
Yeah, I'm not going to let you do it. I'm going to push you to make more videos.
I'll consider it. This is the year that I'll finally do a live stream. Was my second prediction, so I could go one way or another.
I forgot about that one.
So I've really struggled. I'm open to suggestions on this, but I have some things I want to do. I run an open source project called UserSpice, and one of the things I do for that is I write a lot of plugins, and some of them are fairly popular, but a lot of times people don't see them. And with talking about all this stuff in the tech world, just the idea of having these services that you don't have any control of. Basically, to put it in a nutshell, with UserSpice, you can go on any cheap hosting. You can go to GoDaddy or any of the $2 a month hosting things, and they're going to have a one-click installer to install my UserSpice software. And then from there, I have a one-click installer to install a bunch of various plugins. And I've written about 100 of them. But I would like to do some videos on the ones that are basically give you full services. Like I have, you can create your own URL shortener with one click using my software. You can create your own paste bin clone for storing bits of text. You can create your own just protected downloads thing where people can only download it if you give them the specially protected link and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of feel like it'd be fun maybe once a month to put out a video like that, where just a quick 10-minute tutorial. And I love the idea of people completely owning it. So if you have, right now, Pastebin, they automatically delete your things. They can go through and look at your things and decide if they don't want it to be there or whatever. There's some alternative ones that have all been bought up by big companies and are covered with ads and stuff like that. But so I would kind of like to do some tutorial videos on showing you how to make these services that exist in the freemium market, but to where you own it all and you can do whatever you want. You can edit it, you can put ads, not put ads, whatever. So if I make some extra content, that'll probably be the direction that it goes.
Just as another maker is saying this, I'm reminded of a time where he told me that I should make my own URL shortener and that he would show me and that it's easy. What I didn't know was that he actually coded the damn thing.
It was done. It's ready for you. But yeah, I mean, what's great about it, like, so here's just a little, again, inside baseball thing. If you make your own URL shortener, then you can decide, you can see how many times it's been clicked. You can make people have to log in to click it so that you have their email address. You can verify their email address. You can You can change where it goes behind the scenes. So let's say that the page changes, whatever you had your URL shortener to, you just get all kinds of analytics and power and stuff like that. Your link will never be bad if you do that. So there's a lot of reasons why you would want to have something like that. And what's really cool about my software is you can literally go out there and buy a hosting package that costs $20 a year and install 6 plugins and own all of your own services for things like that. So very cool stuff there that I really want the world to know about. But I want to talk about your channel. And I did cheat and I went on Social Blade, and it says that you would have something like maybe 21. I didn't look real close, but something like 21,000 subs by the end of 2022. And I'm going to put you at 30. Which
There's no way.
I think there is a way. I really do, because you're actually putting time and effort into your channel, and I believe that you are underserved by the algorithm. And I think there's going to be some corrections this year. Just as I look at YouTube as a whole, I think your content is in the sweet spot of what is actually enjoyable to watch. I see a lot of YouTubers going to these incredibly long, 30, 40, 50-minute videos, and I'm just going to make fun of him because he's big enough to handle it. But I love LGR, but he had this little plastic joystick that sat on top of a couple of keys on the keyboard, and it was like an 18-minute video. Probably should have been 6 for as enjoyable as he is. And I see content go in that direction. I think your content is exactly the length it needs to be. I think it's to the point. You do what you say you're going to do and all that stuff. And I think the algorithm is going to bless that. And I'm going to put you at 30,000 subs, regardless of what Social Blade says, by the end of 2022.
There was a time where Social Blade said that by today, actually 4 days ago, I can't math, but December 3rd, I was supposed to hit 20,000 subscribers. But obviously things took a turn, a downwards turn. The battery video got less popular, and my channel has been in a bit of a slump, which seems to be I'm at the end of that now. Like, it seems to be coming back up. So who knows? I mean, Social Blade is not that precise, but at the same time, I think 30,000 is ambitious. I will be sitting here eating crow next year if it happens, but I just don't think it'll happen. But I do appreciate that you believe in me that much.
Well, it did have you at 25 for as big. It had you at a fairly big jump in March. So I think it had you at 25 in March of 2023. So, there's definitely the hockey stick. You're starting to get into the hockey stick thing once you get above 20. And so, it really seems like it's almost like investing. It seems like if you could just move some of that stuff a little earlier, I think you could hockey stick up to 30,000, which would be awesome. And like, nobody's more deserving, seriously.
Well, we'll see. And as for my prediction for my channel, I'm predicting an increase in video output, but more importantly, I think I'm predicting an increase in RC projects. I am loving the RC projects. Like, the boat was a lot of fun. The snow speeder is a lot of fun. Ripping around on that thing is fantastic. And there's this weird thing when you're a maker, learning to use things like Fusion 360 or how to design parts for 3D printing, that has kind of like a large learning curve. But once you're over that learning curve, you can apply those exact same skills to create tons of other stuff for very little extra effort. Like, for example, I took someone's turntable design. They designed like a product turntable type thing. And I didn't like it because it used, one of those really cheap JY28 or something like that. Stepper motors, JH28. I don't remember. I didn't like it. So I designed my own to go on a NEMA 17 stepper motor. That's the stepper motors you'll find in 3D printers and stuff. And I probably knocked that project out in 2 hours. The reason why you don't know that you haven't seen this video yet is because I need to do the coding side of it. So that's what's really limiting me. So that would be my second. I know we're only supposed to do one prediction, but my second thing is you'll probably see a few more coding videos from my channel, because I think if I'm able to learn it well enough to teach it, I think there is hope for all of you out there, because I am daft when it comes to coding. I am not good, but I am putting in the effort so that hopefully you guys will have to put less effort into it.
I would give this guy, like, I would basically pay this guy to learn how to code PHP so that I could work with him every day. But going back to the other thing, your ability to do 3D modeling and to do circuit design is incredible. And those two things, I see them limiting me every day. Like I think to myself, I have a floppy drive, and going back to some of the retro stuff, one of the reasons why I love that stuff is they're not making it anymore. You know, these 5.25-inch drives, there's people whose novels and diaries and statistics and all this stuff are on 5.25-inch drives, and every single day those things become less readable. Every single day there's less people who can read them, and the discs themselves are going bad. And so, you know, anytime we get the opportunity to save that, archive.org lets you upload disk images and things like that just so they get saved somewhere. And like, I have a floppy drive where the cam to lower the head onto the disk was cracked, and I would have 3D printed one in a heartbeat if I had the ability to, because there's no way to reproduce that cam. But you know, I wound up JB welding it together. So, but eventually I would like to replace that with something that was 3D printed. Or I have these dreams of making things that are, you know, making projects inside of Nintendo cartridges that have card edge connectors and all that stuff. But I can't do PCB design right now. And so just seeing you do that, like, I am truly in awe that you just knock that stuff out so quickly. It's impressive.
I think, yeah. So first of all, thank you. But it was also hard won. So anybody out there that's looking at my channel, looking up to my channel and saying, hey, like, wow, this guy can do these things. It was a lot of work, like a lot of work to, especially I think KiCad was a lot harder for me to learn than Fusion 360. Fusion, for whatever reason, the controls, everything is all just laid out so nicely the way my brain functions that Fusion and we get along. I need to do some more learning in Fusion to try to get up to, you know, making the assemblies and the motion and all those things, because I just do them by eye at the moment, which is a little bit crazy. But some people, like, they literally just model. They're like, oh, I have a little board I need a box for. They just model the board in Fusion, build the box around it. I mean, I can't do that yet, but I've designed the entire snowspeeder with interworking parts, like all the parts work together without that. So don't be discouraged by that. But what you're telling me is that I think I need to do some more, or what I'm getting from what you're saying is I think I need to do some more tutorial type things, like basic tutorial type things, like let's make a sphere. Let's cut the sphere in half. Let's move the two halves of the sphere away from each other. Let's link the two spheres with a cylinder, two sphere halves with a cylinder. Because I think that's what people need. They need the courage to start, and they need to know the basic functionalities, and then they just need to let their imagination go wild. And I think I hate barriers, because I'm the type of person that'll sit on my chair and watch YouTube videos that I don't even want to watch, like some of the late night hosts and stuff, because I'm procrastinating making a video because there's a barrier, like whether it be a mental one or whatever. So I think what I need to focus on in 2022 is to start trying to remove people's barriers, and then maybe I'll get to earn that 30,000 subscribers. We'll see.
Yeah, for me, I know it's a lot of just having a little bit of access to the tools. I may have said this before. I said it somewhere, but I was listening to something on Twit This Week in Tech, and this guy was talking about having an Arduino, and he's like, "Yeah, I just burned a program to the chip," and just went on, and like he just kind of said it in passing. I was like, "Oh, listen to this guy, just burned a program on the chip," like, and it just seemed like such and an impossible task to me. But then I bought an Elegoo kit and I learned how to blink an LED, and then it's off to the races. And I think there's a lot of people who, if you give them the first 5 steps, if you teach them how to make a sphere, they can Google how to make a square or a cube. They just need the basics to understand. And the same thing with the circuit design. If you could show someone how to put a 555 circuit together on a little circuit board, then most people are smart enough to be able to Google the rest of it, but just getting that initial first step is life changing. And for me, it's just one of those things where it's such a barrier that I just haven't even started. Sort of like, trying to get you to do Node-RED. Like you have to get over that initial hurdle before you can, and then all of a sudden you're off to the races.
Yep. And for Node-RED, for example, you had set me you had set me up perfectly for Node-RED. You had, guys, listen, I had an Orange Pi PC from years ago that's just been collecting dust, and other makers like, just tell me which one you got, and then I'll send you an image, and then you burn it onto an SD card using this software. It's all free, and then you plug it in, and then I set the username and the password, and you're off to the races. He did all this for me. Literally, all I had to do was burn the thing and plug it in. But the deal is, I didn't have a Ethernet cable right next to where I wanted the Orange Pi. So if I wanted to go work on Node-RED, I would have to go find the Orange Pi, go plug it in somewhere, plug it into an Ethernet cable, and then I have to remember the steps that he gave me to log into it. You have to go in your browser. And so that is a barrier. I can't deal with barriers like that. I just can't. So he had set everything up for me, but I didn't set myself up for success. So these days I've teamed up with an actual wizard. So it's a coder. And he gave me the step-by-step instructions on how to install Node-RED myself, which is important because I need to make a video to show you guys how to do it. And then I went and I plugged it into a network switch I have here tucked in a cold air return in my vent system, because the vent system was the way we move the cables up and down the different floors. So now if I go into my browser, type in the IP address of that Pi, I'm greeted with Node-RED. So now when I'm ready to learn Node-RED, there's no barriers.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And I'm a person, I can't have barriers. I'm just not going to do it. And so when someone hands you something like another maker did, don't make the mistake I made. You have to go and take those 2 extra steps. You don't have to do the hard part, the coding, that day, but you do need to remove the barriers. And then when you're ready, you're good to go. So I think that's some unsolicited advice from someone who is hard-headed like me.
And I've learned not to push too bad on stuff like that. There's a funny story about that SD card. I had an Orange Pi, but I was up in Maryland renovating a different house during the pandemic, and I realized that Orange Pi had a special power connector, and I didn't have. I was 1,000 miles from my house, and but I got really lucky, and the cable modem had the same power connector, so I was able to steal the power supply from the cable modem to create that SD card that you never used. So that was cool. It all worked out.
Yeah. They use a tiny little thin barrel jack,
Yep.
like a 2.5 millimeter, but outside diameter. It's I don't know, it's not a good system, but the Orange Pi thing is the processor is quite powerful. So it draws a lot more power than a typical cell phone charger can give. So that's why they went with the barrel jack. I understand. It's still not convenient.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend, if you're new and you're hearing us talk about Orange Pi or Banana Pi or any of those other ones and you're wanting to get into this stuff, go with the Raspberry Pi or go with the regular Arduino Uno or Mega and start there. There's just so many more tutorials. There's so many great things out there for those things. As you start getting into the fringes, it just gets more and more complicated, and tutorials that worked 2 years ago won't work now and stuff like that. So if you're looking at getting into this, Raspberry Pi or Arduino, and everything else, let it sit for a while.
We're heading towards the end of the show, but I do want to dump something on you without any prompt. And I promise you I haven't thought of it myself, so I'm going to be just as screwed as you finding an answer. I would like us both to think of something that we've always wanted to do, but haven't done either because of barriers, laziness, inability, whatever. Something that we want to do or learn. And I want us to promise on the podcast here that we're going to do it for 2022. So I need you to pick something that you've always wanted to learn or do or whatever. And you need to promise on the podcast that you're going to do it. And I think there should be some sort of penalty for us not doing it.
Oh, goodness. All right.
And because I dropped this on you, I'll go first, so you get the time to think about it. Plus, I'm the cruel one who's done this to us. So, I think this year, my thing will be that I am going to automate something in my house using Node-RED. I don't know what it's going to be, but I am going to automate something that I use frequently enough. And I will use Node-RED to automate it. Because I think just learning Node-RED is a little bit cheesy, but to actually automate something that I use via Node-RED, I think that's my goal.
Nice.
And I think the loser should donate $100 to the local food bank or something.
All right.
Or like if we don't do it.
I'll tell you what. Well, let's do loser donates. If you don't do it, donate $100 to local food bank and buy the other person a pizza.
Okay, fair enough.
Right.
So $100 we'll go 100 US because our currencies are a bit different. So 100 US and pizza of the other person's choice.
Okay.
That means if we both fail, the food bank is getting 200 US. 100 each, and then we're each getting ourselves a consolation pizza.
Fantastic. All right, that's fantastic. Okay, all right. So I have zero artistic ability. When I posted the picture of my drawing, my sketch for the open source desk, and it actually did turn out like my drawing was, but I said that I had no artistic ability, and your wife chimed in that that's not true. That what does she call it? What's the word for it? Not impressionist. Abstract art. Abstract art is still art, and I have zero artistic ability. And in fact, I thought about one of my original names for my software company was just going to be called Ugly Stick Software, because I make very ugly software that works very well. But I am wanting to learn one of the front end, basically for making things pretty, programming languages. And I'm leaning toward one called Vue. I've looked at it, and there's a couple different ones, but I'm leaning toward one called Vue. And so I'm going to learn enough Vue to make a real front end with Vue this year. So I'm going to make something look pretty with a different language. So I think that would be kind of a challenge. It's different than the way I think, so it's definitely going to be a challenge. But I think,
and you're not allowed to just use. You're not allowed to just like plaster pictures of your wife all over the place to make it look pretty.
Yeah,
that doesn't count.
Exactly.
I think it would work, but it's just not in the spirit of this competition.
Yeah. It has to be something electronical creative. So
there we go.
That sounds good. All right. So we have one more question too. So
we do.
In terms of the holidays, we started off talking about the holidays. What's something kind of practical, and what's something that, like, I wouldn't say money is no object, but there would be just a little bit more of a stretch thing that you would love to have for the holidays?
Well, so this is a tough question, and I'll tell you guys. I'll share with you guys what my wife and I did this year, and I recommend couples out there do it. But then I won't cheap out. I will actually answer the question after that. So. The wife and I have trouble buying stuff for each other. My wife is like basically Gandhi. She needs she has no physical needs in this world. She just exists on a higher plane. So she is impossible to buy gifts for. And I like stuff that is dirt cheap from China. And so I already buy it for the channel. Or I like things that are very expensive, which there's no way we can afford. Like there's zero way we can afford. So what the wife and I did was we went around the kitchen, and we figured we wanted one thing, and that we've been heeing and hawing about because of the price and whatever, and we together bought it for us. So we bought ourselves an air fryer this year. And there's one more thing we're going to treat ourselves to. We're going to get some big FU towels, like some massive beach
Love it.
towels that you basically, you can dry yourself off, jump back into the shower, come back out, and still dry yourself off. So those are two like little annoyances, like the lack of, really good crispy food, and towels that don't perform that great. By the way, don't use a dryer sheet if you dry your towels, because that adds wax to your towels. It makes it harder for it to absorb water. So this is what we're doing, and we recommend couples out there or single people, treat yourself. Don't use this as an excuse. But for the channel, there's two things that are a stretch for me. One is a laser cutter, because a K40 laser, the cheapest I've seen them is 650 or 750, something like that. Kind of expensive. Very expensive for me. And then you still need to upgrade it if you want it to work reliably. And the other one is a CNC. So those are two things. The CNC I could probably design and build myself in time. But the laser cutter, the price of a K40 laser and the price of the laser tube and the power supply itself are nearly the same price. And if I were to order a laser tube from China, very likely it would show up here in 1,000 pieces. So for me, it'd be more worthwhile to buy a laser cutter, like the whole unit, because at least then the tube is like supported in shipping. So those are the things that are really missing from my home maker shop, which, if some sort of rich benefactor was listening to, that's what I would want. I would never want my wife to buy me something like that, because I feel terrible when she spends her money on me, because she doesn't like spending money at all. So, so I wouldn't. It's not something I would buy for myself, and it's not something we can afford anyways. That's just the stretch goal. That's what the shop needs for equipment.
Well, that's funny. Yeah, I'm in the same boat too with the. Between my benefactors or my I don't know exactly what you call them, the people at Banggood that basically just tell us to go shopping and allow us to pick out all kinds of cool stuff. And then, I've got the triple power supply, got the nice Handtech scope, and all the crazy stuff I have. Like, that's where my wife and I have both been kind of struggling this year, because the last couple of years we've been transitioning and moving and things like that. So there have been things that we wanted, but my shop has a lot of awesome stuff in it. So in terms of the small things, I would really like, and I'm admitting that I'm getting older, but also I'm working on smaller stuff. I would really like some kind of good magnification optic thing. I have the small microscope that I got from Banggood, which is great. I really like that camera that you got from Banggood, the overhead one. I could really see a use for having like that permanently installed somewhere where you could just flip it on and see things. I'm always looking at tiny jumpers and things like that on these motherboards. And I bought one of those magnifying goggle things, and I guess I don't know. I looked at all the reviews of basically all of them on Amazon, and none of them were over the top great. And I got one which will be in mailbag 30 or 31, whatever it is, and I don't like it. It's going back to Amazon. So I would like some kind of optic thing for over my desk for just magnifying stuff. That's just kind of like permanently there. So there's that. And then, so funny story. You did give me a little clue about this question that you wanted to talk about this topic. And it got me thinking that, my wife and I hadn't really decided what we were doing for Christmas. And I hadn't really spent any money at all with my business, and just really debating what to do. And as you asked me that question, it hit me that I should buy a laser cutter. And so I've been putting off. I have the K40, and it is fan freaking tastic, but it is not big enough to do the panels on my desk. And my wife would like to do some production and selling some things out of a machine. So 15 minutes before the podcast, I actually ordered a 60 watt 20 by 28 laser cutter. And so, we've had a lot of crossovers on this thing. And if
Fancy.
if I can get you into the States, or if I can get it to Canada, you are welcome to my K40. Seriously, like I know you're not real big on crossing the border, but if we could figure out some way to float the thing in a hot air balloon, like, you're welcome to the K40. I would absolutely love for you to have it. But it is a fantastic machine. But I did have some limitations needing to do some things bigger, and I've been putting it off for about the last year. And so I splurged on a laser cutter. So I just did it on a whim.
Well,
so
that's awesome though. Like, congratulations. And you know, first of all, I would be hard pressed to accept your laser cutter as a gift. I would buy it from you. However, I've been told that trying to move a laser product from the US to Canada is like nigh impossible. There is so much regulation. It's so much easier for these Chinese companies to ship them because they declare them as industrial equipment, and as long as it doesn't get inspected, apparently it just sails right through. But that's the reason why they're so expensive. Like from eBay, for example, if you got a US seller, there's no way it's coming across the border. It's like, it's impossible. So there are a couple Canadians who have imported pallets of them, and they're selling them on eBay, but that's why they're like $700 and something. Even if you go onto an AliExpress seller that sells them for like $400. I mean, I contacted one last year, and they're like, oh, turns out UPS won't ship it to you. So can you tell me where the closest port is? I'm like, yeah, Quebec City. Like, what do you want me to do? Drive 6 hours to go pick this thing up? Like, so yeah, it's not viable. Now, a real laser cutter with all the safety stuff documented and whatever, like what is it called? The Flash Forge or something like that.
They have the Glow Forge and stuff like that. Yeah.
Glow Forge. There we go. Yeah. One's an illegal thing. The other one's just a glow. But those things are fine because they've gone through all the prerequisites. But I mean, I think a base model is like $3,500 or something like that. And this channel hasn't earned $3,500 since its inception. So, I mean, there's just no way. And it's fine. If you're listening and you're like, oh man, I feel so bad for him. Don't. It's fine. No, not,
you guys should feel bad. Somebody needs to step up on Amazon and buy this man a laser cutter. And I'll tell you, I think it's worth $700. There's not very much that I would say, overpay for it, but I think they're that great. I really do love them, and just how fast they are and how quick it is to crank things out. I got mine for my K40 for $200, so I know I lucked out on that. But they are fantastic machines. They really are.
I know that I will get one eventually, not this year, and especially not now that my hours have been cut from the college. But I'm so sure that eventually, in a couple of years or so, I will get one. That I already have the concept for the video in mind, and we're so deep into the podcast that only the real fans are sticking around this far that I can say it. Is I was going to shave a portion of my arm, and then put it in the laser cutter, upload a tattoo, and then hit go. But then when I would cut to it, I am pretty sure there is a cut of pork that the skin looks identical to my skin tone. So I would pop that in and have it put the tattoo on there. And at the same time on the Cricut, I would print the same tattoo in reverse and then like in marker and then just put it on my arm. So it'll look like I got the tattoo. So that's the plan for the video. And I just wouldn't tell anybody. I would just say, yeah, this is neat. And it would be high enough on my arm that whenever I have long sleeves, you wouldn't see it. So then that would be it. Like, yeah, I have the tattoo.
There are real videos of people tattooing themselves with the laser cutter. It's insane. It looks ridiculously painful and the tattoos don't look good, but there are people that actually do it, and it's crazy. I thought about doing a series called Will It Lays, where I basically like cut shapes out of pancakes and hot dogs and all kinds of stuff like that. I guess if the K40 isn't being used, that could be a kind of a fun use for that thing.
Can you do me a big favor? Can you make a video of laser cutting William Osmond's face out of ham? Because he did Vin Diesel, and I think it'd be nice to return the favor.
Nice. Yeah, I can do that. I can absolutely do that.
You should totally do
be a
that.
Good Christmas, be a good Christmas thing.
There we go. we need to wrap it up. But do you have any sort of plans for Christmas? Are you just hanging out? What you up to for Christmas?
I think we're sticking around. Like I said, we just got back from Ireland, Scotland, and all that kind of stuff, and it was awesome trip. But I think I'm ready to rest a little bit. I also have a ridiculous amount of work for my day job right now, so I have more code than I could do, and if there were three of me. So I'm probably going to just take those couple holidays off and power through. It'll actually kind of be nice because most of the other people around me for work won't be working, so I won't have anywhere near the interruptions. And I'm planning on just blasting through as much code as possible before the end of the year.
Nice. Well, I wish you luck on that one. That's for sure.
What are you guys doing?
We're staying home. We're not going to my parents. We're not going to my wife's parents. We are just staying home, staying the hell away from anybody, because knowing my luck, someone is going to give me COVID, and the one time where I can go back to work, which is early January, I won't be able to. So I am staying the hell away. I'm going to do my 8 weeks that I'm going to be contracted for. I'm going to hope for another contract. If not, I don't know what I'm going to do. But the bank account's like, it's running on empty. So yeah, I need to work. I can't, there's nothing that can stop me from working. I need to work.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's my plan. And it's fine. Though the wife and I we used to be antisocial. Now we're responsible adults because COVID came by. So everything changed without us changing anything.
It became mainstream now.
Yeah, exactly. So, we were staying home before it was cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Do you know how you drown a hipster?
How?
You throw him in the mainstream.
Nice. I like that. It's kind of
yeah.
It's kind of funny. Like I had the similar mentality when I was about to do my bike trip across the country. I had gotten exactly 60 days off from work, and there was only a couple of windows where I could do it, and it had to be like March and April because it wouldn't be too cold, too hot, or I could do it in September and October because it wouldn't be too cold or too hot to go across like Death Valley and places like that. But as I was getting closer, people were asking me if I wanted to go skiing and all these other kind of things. And I just put myself in this absolute bubble for like 3 months before I go because I was like, I cannot get injured. I cannot fall and twist my ankle. I cannot do anything. I need to be physically healthy to do this trip because I had spent a year planning it. And, if I fall and break my elbow skiing or something like that, I'm just totally screwed. So I get the bubble thing, and the stakes are even higher this time. So for you, so I respect that. I appreciate the introvertedness as a fellow introvert. We can unite separated, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I think I have. Don't know who's interested in this, but anyways, I have a vintage Honda in my garage. And I haven't put it on the road yet. It's just been sitting there because I don't have the drive, and honestly, I don't have the money to insure it for what it's worth. So probably in the spring, I might be selling it before I even got a chance to drive it.
That's the CRV, right?
A CRX, yeah.
CRX, yeah, CRX.
So yeah, I have, for those car nerds, I have an 89 CRX SI. I think I talked about it with Aging Wheels, probably.
That's the one with the real flat back, right? The 2-door or 2-seater.
That's right, the 2-seater. Maybe I talked about it with Usagi also, but anyways, it doesn't matter. So I have an 89 CRX SI, which has just been sitting in the garage, 43,000 miles on it. It's a US car from Georgia somewhere, and I think my life has a lot of I have a lot of anxiety in my life right now, and I think what I need is a boat. So I own a boat. I have a 12-foot aluminum rowboat, nothing special, but I now have these 100 amp hour batteries, and I have a trolling motor from a previous life. So I think I would like to go on the water from time to time, and I think I would like to go on the water more than I would like this CRX on the road, because I'd be always worried about it getting stolen or getting smashed into or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to probably try to reorganize my life a little bit so I can be on the water, but going on the only major water body in a major city is an expense. So I own the boat, I own the motor, I already have a car I could tow it with. I can make a trailer like really easily because trailer laws here are pretty lax for small things. But like the boat launches, for example, it's like $15 a pop.
Wow.
And I have to store it somewhere. The boat, it's at my parents' cottage at the moment, but that's too far to like, jaunt out to the river for a couple hours before having to record a video. So I have to store it somewhere. My property is tiny. My wife's got like a tiny car. I've got the Volvo is a little bit bigger, but we barely fit in the driveway. I got no like access to the backyard from the front. So yeah, I need to reorganize a little bit to get out onto the water. So I think that's going to be one of the things I'm going to try to do next year if it doesn't break my heart too much to sell that CRX.
I always regret it when I sell stuff like that. Like I'm not telling you not to sell it, but man, every time I do, like I wind up regretting the bikes and the stuff like that I've sold over the years. But I can relate. I did have one really, really nice carbon fiber bike, but it was so nice that like I never wanted to lean it up against anything. Like I never wanted to take it out on days that were nasty and stuff like that. And I found that my aluminum bike, I just ride more. So I get that feeling. There are things that are kind of too nice for everyday use.
Yeah, and just to put it into perspective, like it's going to cost me at least $100 a month to insure this thing because I'm going to have theft insurance for what it's worth. Yeah. I'm going to have to pay $100 or more to get it appraised before I can even get the proper insurance on it. That means I have to tow it. There's another $200 so $100 to $100 from. I need a set of 4 tires because the tires were replaced sometime in the 90s and not since. I have to do some work to it because it's literally been sitting, like it's 43,000 miles. It's been sitting. So I have to do the timing belt water pump.
Anything rubber.
Yeah, anything rubber, basically. So, I'm looking at like $1,000 to get it on the road, which is like, I don't have $1,000 and I already have a car that I drive. So, that's just, it is what it is, but it might have to go. We'll see. Anyways, we'll see. Airing it out at the holiday episode here. Well, so let's try to end.
Oh, sorry. I cut
you off. Go ahead. No, go.
I just want to say it has been an absolute honor. Seriously, thank you for having me on this thing and letting me kind of ramble and all that kind of stuff. It's been a joy to be your friend and to watch your videos and listen to your podcast, and even more of an honor to be on it.
You have not been let on the podcast. You have earned your stay on the podcast.
Well,
let me just straighten you out there. And I truly value your friendship, even though sometimes it seems like what you tell me goes in one ear and out the other.
I'm used to that. That's just my life, man. I'm used to that.
So to the viewers, I thank you guys so much for tuning into these podcasts, for coming on to the YouTube videos and hitting the like if you want, or the dislike if you want. Do what feels right to you. The comments have been really awesome, and like I can't speak for another maker, but I think he echoes these feelings too. So please make sure to go check out his channel, pick a random video, tell him what you like about it, because that's the little thing that us YouTubers, it keeps us going. And another maker, thanks so much for taking your time and hanging out with me for this special Christmas special.
I'm honored. Thanks.
All right, guys, thanks for listening. I will catch you all on the next episode, which will be in 2022. Thanks for listening.